Our next presentation is Western Areas, Dan Bloffer, Managing Director and CEO. Western Areas is a nickel mining company and exploration company which listed on the ASX in July 2000. Dan is a qualified mining engineer with over 38 years of experience in all aspects of exploration, feasibility, development and operations. Welcome to the podium, Dan.
Thank you. Well, I always land up after Peter, and it's a really tough, act to follow. Look, everybody's leaving now because they've had their laughs, and it's not a fact that all Welshmen can sing. So I'll prove that tonight. But we try to do it en masse and move on. But anyway, thank you very much for the invite today. And it was touch and go whether we were actually going to have a conference. So well done. I guess, we're all trying to do the best we can. And at some point, I think we're actually doing rather well compared with the rest of the world, which sometimes is a bit sad when, we look at what's happening in Europe and other parts of the world. But anyway, I won't get too depressed. Today's talk really is about growth, and I'm going to try and get through to that point. I've always said that I would never put a video in the Diggers and Dealers conference because I remember Carl at Sandfire doing it in the first flyover, and it went like a supersonic jet. So I'm hoping, and if I'd known that Bellevue were going to do one as well, we could have shared the cost because it's literally next door to us. So, but I see you didn't show any of our stuff. So anyway, but look, I'm going to touch on the nickel market a little bit, and we've heard probably enough, and it's now becoming a little bit of a buzzword, and even, you can even pick up Australian newspapers and they talk about the EV and the effect on nickel and copper and cobalt, etc. So, but there are some good points in there, and we'll touch on that as well. But the main driver on my presentation today is about growth, and it's about the project we bought back in 2015, which was Cosmos, and we are developing the Odysseus mine there. And if you've been fortunate to get one of our hats, then you try to work out what is that person that's looks like some kind of a kilt or something on him, but he actually is a general in the Greek army named Odysseus. So there is some fact behind that. And then look, the operations, Flying Fox and Spotted Qual still producing cash for us at $680 a pound, so LME price today. So we're still getting some cash generation, which of course we're spending quite a lot on building the Odysseus mine. I see that this has been authorized by myself, so I think I need to read it sometime. But yeah, look, it's there are lots of forward statements, and there are some forecasts about capital expenditure and stuff. So, but I like to start mine with safety, and touching back on what Peter mentioned, I have a concern that we are going to run out of skills. We are going to run out of safety practices, and I think that we as an industry need to really look hard, go back tomorrow when you're back in Perth and just ask everybody at site, are we think we're doing the right thing? We've had some couple of strange incidents, and I won't go into any detail, but they remind me of the 90s where we had standards and policies, but we didn't really follow them. And then Western Mining, we had the great 20 standards that falls aground and stuff. But we do need to stop. We can't just come up here and brag about how much money we're making if we hurt people. And it's not, there are going to be, we've had a serious incident already this year. And I think that we all owe it to the industry to just go back and go to site and just stop and think, check your safety policies, check that people are following, do an audit, and let's hope, that we get where we need to be. But the fundamental thing is, we think we're doing quite well, and that's a pretty good graph for two hard rock mines in operation, around about 900,000 meter depth, plus developing Odysseus, which is about 800 meters, and we just firing the new sort of hard rock declines after rehabilitation. So just, I don't want to labor the point, but I think we just have to stop, as Pete said. We're not graduating good people for a long time, and there's going to be a gap, and we are going to put young, inexperienced people in positions where maybe they are not trained or adequately experienced to do. But I hope that we will get to the bottom of it before anything serious. I showed this last time, and I think now it's becoming one of my more sort of popular slides, where we actually show and we celebrate success, I guess. Even in nickel, we have to celebrate the highs and at some point. But since last year, we've picked up quite a nice position in another nickel miner called Panoramic, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And but more importantly, Western Areas is now 20 years old. We listed actually in July the 28th, 2000. The company was actually started by Julian Hanna and Terry Streeter and a few guys back in the day. And, but we are happy to celebrate 20 years, and I guess my job now is, as Peter says, I'm not saying goodbye, but as Pete said, we have to now grow the companies that we were so involved with and who looked after us in terms of our families and everything, to then now look into the future and actually generate the next generation of mines for the younger guys coming up behind us. So we have to do that. But you look at this picture, there's not many young people in there. I give you a tip. Like, some of you are in here probably, but look, when we were celebrating our 20th, that's what we put up there. And 3 chairmen, 2 MDs, Julian and myself. I've been with the company 14 years. Joe's been with the company 15 years, and Wynne Jones has been with the company 16 years. So we must be doing something right. But on the journey to get here, I just want to mention a few names. Tim King, who passed away, and that's where the first open pit at Spottycore was called Tim King Pit. And then Craig Oliver in Sundance, we had a problem, the accident, and Craig was a very, very, very big member of Western Areas family. And then more recently, Terry Grammer, also part of the Western Areas story back in the day. So, we do move on, and we do lose people on the way. Corporately, what have we got to take away from here? Really, it's we've got cash at bank, we're debt-free, and we've got the position now in Panoramic, which is, people ask me, what is it? What are you doing there? And we call it strategic optionality. And we go, well, what is that, Dan? Well, I'll tell you in the bar later on, but yeah, it's a strategy of not knowing really what the investors say. Well, are you going to buy it, all up, or are you going to just sit on it? And the option is we can sit on it, or we can or we can take it forward. So we're just waiting and seeing where there's many, many parts of the equation when you deal with a corporate transaction, and that's part of that is obviously where the nickel price is going to go, and that's going to be based on a few things like the EV. But it's, we've been up much bigger market cap, and obviously I think we're now due for the next generation of growth within the nickel and the sort of electric vehicle space. So coming to the nickel market, the first thing we've done since last figures was we've actually then now done the next offtake contract. And Joe and I were in the LME week in November last year, luckily before all the fun started. And we actually were absolutely blown away by the response that we got from smelters, etc., and traders for our concentrate. Obviously, we have very good concentrate from the 2 mines, and it's a premium, and there's a lot of blending, Nickel West, etc., and Jinchuan. And what really it's all about is that, as you've heard from Eddie yesterday, and maybe not so much from Jinchuan, but they are smelter refinery moving into the nickel sulfate market, and Jinchuan is the largest producer of nickel sulfate, and they're obviously going to move that. They're at about 40% of their nickel production at the moment. So obviously we are now seeing some of that precursor cathode market coming back into the payabilities. And whilst I always say I can't tell you, but it's an order of magnitude more. And I was talking to a gentleman yesterday who was telling me what are they? We all always talked about mid-60s, 66, 67% of LME. Well, I can tell you, you can add a 10 to that, and you might be close to it. So great work. What we are seeing in the nickel market, you've heard about Tesla and Elon Musk. So we are getting some tension in the market, and the big news there is the growth of electric vehicles is actually accelerating, even in the middle of the COVID. And Europe sales have gone pretty much up 30%, and the internal combustion engines growth is coming down. So something is happening, the momentum is getting in there, and now, as I said, it's a buzzword, and we are now seeing actual governments and OEMs in the car area actually starting to work through that. So a couple of graphs there just showing that what I'm saying is actually factual. But the big takeaway will be, though, if someone in America or Europe, I mean, Europe do quite a bit in the EV space, but America has been very reluctant, obviously, because they love their sort of 8-liter vehicles. But they are moving now, and if it's Tesla, probably, builds a factory in Texas or in somewhere in California, that will change the dynamics, because we have always thought that everything was going to go to China and that would be the basis of all the cathode and all the lithium-ion battery precursor material. I think it's going to go the other way, and we're going to start seeing a lot of tension, and that's going to be great news for base metal miners. Two graphs here. One is showing really all the technology of different batteries, and the one that we really love as a nickel miner is the 811, so 8 parts nickel, 1 cobalt, and 1 manganese. And you can see on the left-hand side for you, the big sort of light blue color actually taking market position, very significant. A lot of people spend a lot of time worrying about LFP batteries, etc. Our view is that there's going to be room for all styles of batteries across the board, because the magnitude of the market is going to be such. So buses, trucks, small saloon cars, medium-sized cars, you want a posh car, a really big one, maybe a Rolls-Royce. So, but they're all going to need different energy density batteries, and I think you must never be worried about that graph. Of course, there's the basically a view of how much, and I think Eddie showed it yesterday, how much nickel we will need in the world going forward. So when you're building a new mine and you've got one going to start sort of 23, you're sort of getting excited, I guess. And, Pete likes to get excited quite a lot, but we in Nickel World are excited that the production from Odysseus is actually going to hit the market, and it's not contracted. So without COVID today, Joe and I would be not walking around, but we would be up in Korea, down in Japan, seeing CATL in Fujian in China, and of course, seeing Jinchuan. So there's plenty of scope. You can see we've got the resources and the reserves to deliver the goods, and we've got the project pipelines to actually deliver that. But coming to the actual sort of the prize within Western Areas, and the reason why, look, I'm not trying to say that Forestania is they're not good producers, but this is another level of production, and I'll show you that Cosmos, we bought it in 2015 from Glencore. It was sold back in the day, I think it was 2007, for $3.3 billion. And we paid $24 million for it. And we are going to produce a lot more nickel out of Cosmos than what they did back in the day. So I think that's pretty much a good deal. But I've got a little video to show you if it works. So let's hope.
The Cosmos Nickel Project, Western Area's second operational hub and third long-life nickel mine. The Cosmos project contains around 10.3 million tonnes of high-grade nickel resources at an average grade of 2.6% nickel. Cosmos is located 660 kilometres northeast of Perth in Western Australia. The project is situated in the heart of the Leinster-Wiluna nickel belt, home to some of the world's largest nickel deposits. Identified in 2010, Odysseus is the most recent discovery in a string of successes at the Cosmos project, in addition to Cosmos, Cosmos Deeps, Prospero, Tapanos, and the Alec Mares deposits AM5 and AM6. The Cosmos acquisition came with considerable existing infrastructure, making it an attractive investment for the company. To reduce ore transportation costs, Odysseus has been designed with a shaft hoisting system. The company is currently refurbishing a quality second-hand winder and head frame, acquired from South Africa. The operation will employ a top-down mining approach with paste fill, a proven production model ideally suited to the larger size Odysseus ore bodies. Western Areas will upgrade the existing processing plant from 450,000 tonnes per annum to 900,000 tonnes per annum, utilising existing equipment on site. The nickel concentrate will be loaded at the Cosmos concentrate shed and then be distributed to a local WA smelter or exported internationally. An underground pump station was recently commissioned at 500 metres depth to support dewatering needs over the life of the mine. Other significant works at Cosmos include the rehabilitation of the existing underground decline to ensure renewal of the ground support. The new decline ramp to the Odysseus deposits will take off from the existing underground workings at AM5 and is expected to commence in the fourth quarter of 2020. Once the mine enters production, trucks will haul ore to the shaft loading station, where it will be hoisted to ground level and transported to the surface stockpile for treatment. The most exciting aspect of Cosmos is the significant opportunity for mine life upside. AM6 lies south of Odysseus and adjacent to the existing decline. It contains 53,000 tonnes of nickel resource. Initial studies show it has the potential to extend mine life from 10 to 15 years. In addition, there is upside from the high-grade massive sulfide lenses situated directly below Odysseus North. Western Areas believes the underexplored Cosmos region contains exciting opportunities for further discovery. When you think nickel, think Western Areas.
Just a comment there, they wouldn't let me do the voiceover and I don't know why, and I'm feeling a little upset about it because rehabilitation is not rehab, but anyway. But I wish we could have shared that cost with Bellevue because they're pretty expensive bit of gear when you go down and get a cameraman underground on a mine. But look, here's the long section, sort of cartoon-wise. The green is all done. We've finished the dewatering. We're now we've done all the ground support. We didn't, go down and not put the permanent support in, so that took a while, around about sort of 18, 19 months. We're now firing the main blue twin decline, which is the return airway. Obviously, when you're mining down 1,000 meters, you need lots of air. And the addition there of the M6 reserve in recent times will add another probably 5 odd years to the project. So the project just on the reserves for Odysseus is 10 years plus. And now with the M6, which we'll do as part of the production build-up, will be another probably 5 years. But unfortunately, we can't use those numbers when we do public disclosures. But I think that this is going to be a 15 to a 20-year mine life. Just on that long section, this is a bit of a bragging slide, there's actually over 500,000 tons of nickel just on that, of which 215,000 tons are actually in reserve. So I think that, a company that's got that level of reserves up their sleeves coming into production during the main ramp up of the demand in the precursor market for electric vehicles, I think we've got not a bad future ahead of us. And just in case, those intersections at the bottom there are actually 22% nickel, but I think I bragged that last year, so that's probably the highest grade nickel intersection in a mineable width on the planet, but I'm happy to, if somebody says to me, no, it's not. Look, just another 3 dimensions showing a bit of capex as well. As Pete said, you don't get cheap things when you've got low ongoing operating costs, but the pre-production capex circa around about 330 million. We've now sunk about 80 million of that. We've got a great hoisting system coming in from South Africa. The production ratio, you can see there, the graph is pretty good. We've got 2 ore bodies there, so we can de-risk the production profile, and then we bring in AM6 on top of that. So we'll have 3 working areas to keep everybody happy. The current production rate is 900,000, but we are looking at that moving up into maybe over 1 million. So the optimization studies are currently happening. Again, there's many parts to that equation: the hoisting capacity, the mill capacity, and then of course then they both drive the power demand, and we're currently sitting at about a power need of about 25 megawatts. And of course we're on great infrastructure with a gas pipeline spur, and of course we're sitting between Mount Keith and Leinster operations, and of course there's a grid power line from Nickel West also going past our doorstep, as Steve mentioned as well with Bellevue. Why a hoist shaft? Well, I think you want to talk about emissions. If you were to mine 1 million tons from that depth, you'd be running about 10 55-ton diesel trucks who, other than putting out heat into the ventilation system, which is really what you want to avoid down that depth, plus diesel particulates, we'll be putting down that hoist. We'll be hoisting it around about $5-6 a ton. Trucking would be more like $28 to $30 a ton through a diesel truck. So huge saving. Obviously, the shaft, the hoist itself runs at about 3.5 to 4 megawatts. So there are some power controls we need there in terms of batteries and storage. So we're obviously going to be looking, with a mine life of over 15 years, we are going to be looking into sustainable energy. We've got Goldfields down the road with wind farms and solar. So all that work has to happen in the next 2 years. So potentially we've got gas, we've got grid power and solar and potentially wind. So, I think that we have to do that. Plus, of course, nickel is a forward-looking green metal. In terms of generating the batteries for the non-combustion engines. So all in all, I think Western Areas is contributing quite significantly to the emission reduction. Infrastructure work is now ramping up, and you can see the steel work for the shaft. That's going to go down to Richards Bay. Hopefully, it started already. We're hoping to get a ship across to Henderson because it's too big to go into the smaller ports. You can imagine pulling a head frame from South Africa is quite a job. But it's now, I said, all the hard, heavy lifting is done. There's part of the winder being reconditioned, of course, and then that's Ruck doing the pilot hole for the shaft. So we're about 250 meters down. It's a 10-inch hole. It'll go down to 639 meters. We'll pull back a reamer of about 5.7 meters, and that will be the first leg of the shaft, and then we've got another 300 meters to do, and then we'll be able to then equip it with obviously the winder, and the head frame will be on site. So a great project. Going back to the success timeline, we're going to be there for quite a while. So at Forestania, we're doing some other work. We're looking at New Morning, Diggers, again, 2 operations. Fox has got about 2 years left. So we do now need to bring new projects online. So things are moving along there. The MREP, great project, bacterial leaching. We are building a heap leach as we speak, and we will be producing nickel sulfate into the precipitation plant really into later in this financial year. Exploration, this now shows all of our joint venture partners. We've got the Gawler, we've got Metal Hawk, and we've got St. George, and of course we've got our own 100% owned. And there's a lot of tenements, and Metal Hawk, of course, is quite recently, and the guys are going up to site this afternoon. So a lot of activity. We are still going to be drilling along strike from Odysseus. Western Gawler, a great, significant geological discovery in recent times. After 6 years of investment, around about $3 to $4 million from Western Areas, huge land holding, joint venture with Aluka, given us a lot of geophysical support. and information, which has resulted in us discovering polymetallic sulfides. And you think, okay, Dan, what's so good about that? The driver there is that when you're in barren ground, there's no sulfur, you can't make sulfide. The metals that come out of the magma need to get a sulfur source. So yes, they're not economic grades right now. And I was told the other day that this is a chonolith. Now, I'm a geologist, so even I had to scratch my head and go, I'm not sure about that. I've heard about a batholith and a lopolith, but a chonolith, it's a feeder structure from the main igneous. This is not komatiitic, so it's different to the Leinster, Cambalda, Forrestania nickel. That's komatiitic nickel. This is more like Voisey's Bay, Savannah, and Norilsk. So early days yet, a lot of geophysics, a lot of work going in by the our great team over there, but you've got to watch this space because there's going to be a lot of news flow. And of course, just showing we've got a lot of work ahead of us there, and we are going to be in the backyard now, more like Silver Swan ways to work. So I'm looking forward to a great positive year with Western Areas, and I think that fundamentally it's going to be a good time for base metals, for the next, I think, 10 years to come. As I said, Flying Fox is 15 years now, and we only had a 6-year mine life, so it's been going along quite a lot. So, but we can't keep on pushing production, and we're running sort of into a time where we've got about 2 years left. Spotted Qual, 5 years on reserves. We are doing some high seismic surveys on the flanks to see if we're missing something there. So that's all in hand, and we will be looking for extra nickel and mine life. And of course, the money-making machine, the concentrator, and the guys that run that is 10 years old now, so needs a bit of love and care, but still producing some great nickel and con. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dan. We're right on time, so we won't do any questions. It's a 20-minute break now, and we'll have Carl Simic up when we all return. Thank you.